Every life has a story. It has a story to tell. Some stories are still being written. So if your life were a book, what chapter would you be living today? I'm Sandra Elizabeth. Thank you for joining me today from wherever you are. I am so grateful to connect with you. The statistics on the podcast have shown that there are people here from almost every continent in the world, including countries that I didn't even know existed. Anyway, today's podcast is entitled My Story. My story, my life, my journey has been interesting. And I'm sure yours is too. Every day is another page. Every season becomes another chapter. The amazing thing is this: you haven't reached the final chapter yet. I haven't reached the final chapter yet. Would it be a chapter filled with hope, a chapter of excitement, or one where everything just seems to be falling into place? Or maybe it would be a chapter marked by uncertainty or even unanswered questions. Maybe you find yourself standing at the beginning of something new, filled with the anticipation of what lies ahead. Or even you could be closing the door on a season you never wanted to leave behind. So whatever chapter you are living today, there is one truth that applies to every one of us, to your story, to my story. You are not living the entire story. You are living one chapter at a time. That thought alone has the power to change the way we see ourselves, the way we see others, and the way we approach the journey. Think about a novel. When we read a novel, we understand that every chapter has a purpose. Some of the chapters introduce new characters who will shape the direction of the story. Others will describe seasons of celebration or even success. Then there will be chapters that make us feel uncomfortable. The unexpected tragedy, the painful goodbye, the difficult decision, or even the moment that everything seems to fall apart. Yet, no reader, no person closes the book halfway through and assumes that they already know how it ends. We would all like to know how it ends, but we got to keep reading because we understand that every chapter is connected to the next. It's the same as watching a movie. Life deserves the same understanding. Far too often we allow one difficult season to convince us that our entire story has been written. A business fails and we quietly begin believing that we are failures. We lose a job, receive disappointing news, or even face rejection, or watch carefully laid out plans collapse before our eyes. And without realizing it, we soon begin to allow one chapter in our entire lives to define the entire book. But one chapter has never, ever determined the ending of a great story. Think about the greatest books you've read. The chapters you remember most are not usually the ones where everything was easy. There are the chapters where the main character faced impossible odds, wrestled with fear, questioned their future, and somehow, yes, somehow, they found the courage to keep moving forward. One thing that I have learned, and so would you, without conflict, there is no growth. Without the obstacles that we face, there is no perseverance. Without uncertainty, there is no anticipation, and without the difficult chapters, there is no meaningful transformation. The same is true of our very own lives. When you look back, you will realize that the stories that inspired us the most are rarely the stories of people who lived perfect lives. Instead, they are the stories of ordinary people who refused to give up when life became difficult. Yes, they stumbled, they failed, they doubted themselves, and sometimes they even wanted to walk away, yet they kept turning the page. Every day we meet people. Every day we meet new people. And every single person that you meet is living a story. The woman that is serving you at the grocery store has a story. The young father who's pushing a stroller through the shopping center has a story. The confident teenager has a story. The person who smiles at everyone has a story. The neighbor who keeps to themselves has a story. And so every face that you pass throughout your day carries chapters that you have never read. Yet how quickly we form opinions about people after seeing only a single page of their lives. Someone doesn't greet us and we decide that they are unfriendly. Just because somebody is impatient, we assume that they are rude. Somebody else appears successful and we imagine life has always been easy for them. So let's think about it this way. So let's look at it this way. What if the woman who seems distracted has just received difficult medical news? What if the man who appears impatient spent the entire night sitting beside a loved one in hospital? What if the smiling neighbor has cried themselves to sleep more nights than anyone could imagine? The truth is that we rarely know what chapter somebody else is living. Every day we meet people in the middle of their stories. We don't know the pages they have already written. We don't know the battles they have fought before they left home in the morning. We don't even know the disappointments they have survived or the dreams that they have buried. Life would be so different, it would look so different if we remembered that everyone that we encounter is carrying a story we know nothing about. It would make us slower to judge the person. It would make us quicker to listen, more willing to forgive, and even more compassionate towards those whose behavior we don't immediately understand. When you start to consider the possibility of people's unseen stories, something within you will change. You will begin to see people differently, not as an interruption, not as competitors, not as inconveniences, but as fellow people, each writing one chapter at a time. Every one of us has a different story. I have my story, you have your story. We all have different parents, different childhoods, different opportunities, different disappointments, different dreams, different fears, and different losses. Some people begin their story surrounded by love and even encouragement, but others begin in circumstances that they never chose. Some have chapters filled with opportunity, while others are just simply trying to survive. How is it then that we can possibly compare one life with another, one story with another? Yet we do it every single day. We compare our beginning with someone else's middle. We compare our struggles with somebody else's success. We compare our ordinary days with somebody else's highlight reel. We will compare our chapter 3 with somebody else's chapter 20. And then we wonder why we feel discouraged. Comparison is one of the quickest ways to lose appreciation for your own story, because it convinces you that somebody else's book was the one you should have been given. But if every story were the same, there would be no beauty in reading them. No two stories are identical. No two journeys unfold in the exact same way. No two people are shaped by the same experiences. Your story was never meant to be a copy of somebody else's. My story was never meant to be a copy of somebody else's. It was always meant to become uniquely yours or mine. In today's world, many of us are living according to stories that were written years ago. Maybe a teacher once told you that you would never amount to much. Maybe someone criticized you so often that you began to believe their opinion was the truth. Maybe you experienced rejection, disappointment, betrayal, or failure, and without even noticing, those experiences slowly became a part of your identity and my identity. Remember the times when we stopped saying, I failed? Instead, we began saying, I am a failure. We stopped saying, I made a mistake. Instead, we said, I always get things wrong. So there is a huge difference between something that happened to you and something that defines you. One is an event and the other becomes an identity. And so the danger begins when we allow those temporary experiences to become permanent conclusions in our lives. Don't close the book on yourself. Life may not go according to plan, but your best days must already be behind you. How often do we convince ourselves that we are too old, too inexperienced, too damaged? But every chapter has a purpose. Some of the chapters in our story arrive quietly, almost unnoticed. And then there are others filled with ordinary routines, familiar faces, and days that seem to blend into one another. At the time, those chapters may feel uneventful, even insignificant, yet it is often in those ordinary seasons that some of life's greatest work is taking place beneath the surface. There are chapters that arrive without warning. A phone call can change everything. A diagnosis alters the course of your future. A child is born. A new opportunity opens a door. A career changes. A loved one says goodbye. A dream suddenly becomes reality. And so life has a remarkable way of turning the chapter when we least expect it. When you look back at your own life, you will notice that the chapters you tried the hardest to avoid became the chapters that taught us the most. The season of uncertainty teaches patience. The seasons of waiting developed perseverance. The season of disappointment teaches resilience, and the season of success teaches gratitude. Every chapter, yes, every chapter leaves something behind. The difficult one leaves wisdom, the joyful one leaves gratitude, the painful one leaves compassion, the ordinary one leaves stability. See the value in every chapter. Don't try to skip ahead. Not every chapter is meant to be comfortable. Some chapters are designed to stretch us. Some challenge the way we think. Some expose our strengths that we never even realized we had. Others reveal weaknesses that quietly invite us to grow. See, growth has an interesting way of disguising itself. Rarely does it announce its arrival. It often appears as an inconvenience. It arrives wearing the clothes of uncertainty. It hides inside disappointment. It becomes disguised as hard work, difficult conversations, delayed answers, and unexpected changes. Only later on in the story do we realize that what we thought was interrupting our lives was actually shaping them. Today's society is different. Every day, people scroll through carefully selected moments from other people's lives. We see holidays, celebrations, graduations, new homes, successful businesses, smiling faces, and exciting achievements. What we are really seeing is not the entire story. We are seeing selected pages, often the happiest pages, from books that contain many chapters we will never read. Behind every smiling photo, there will be private struggles. Behind every public success, there are years of uncertainty. Behind every confident smile may be someone who has quietly wrestled with anxiety, disappointment, or grief. We simply do not know because we are looking at a single photo while assuming we have read the entire book. Your life was never intended to be lived according to someone else's story. Never become obsessed with keeping pace with somebody else. We begin missing the beauty of the road beneath our own feet. Instead of appreciating today's lesson, we become preoccupied with tomorrow's destination. Instead of celebrating our own progress, we become discouraged because somebody else appears to be further ahead. Before long, we find ourselves living a life that feels rushed and anxious. Your story and my story does not need to look like anybody else's for it to be valuable. The significance of your life is not determined by how closely it resembles another person's achievements. It is found in the authenticity with which you live your own story. The world does not need another copy of someone else. The world does not need another copy of me. The world does not need another copy of you. It needs the person you were created to become. You and your story will emerge not by competing with another life, by competing with another person, by competing with another story, but by faithfully living your own story, one chapter at a time. As I come to the end of this podcast, may this title of my story be a reminder that every person is writing their life one chapter at a time. We all face different challenges. We all face victories. We all face setbacks and seasons. So comparison only distracts us from our own journey. Like a movie, our lives are still unfolding. Like a book, our chapters are still unfolding, and today's difficult chapter is not the end of the story. Every experience shapes us, strengthens us, and prepares us for what lies ahead. Your story matters. My story matters. The best chapters are still waiting to be written. Until next time, enjoy your week ahead.